sure you've watched other people play beer league hockey before your games, after your games, at other times, and thought, man, those guys are terrible. But have you ever watched yourself play hockey? If you haven't, maybe you should. If you have, what have you seen? In this episode of the Beer Leaguer Podcast, I talk about all the things I've learned, the terrible things I've seen while watching myself play hockey. This episode is all about watching yourself on video. Why you should do it, why you shouldn't do it, how you can do it, what can you get from it, all that good stuff. Future me here, and I wanted to mention that I really, in this episode, focus on recording yourself playing during a game. But most of this stuff also applies to recording yourself when you're in your basement, shooting or practicing passing, or in your backyard, or at a stick and puck, or something like that. So even though I mostly focus on stuff that is going on during a game, a lot of these things are also relevant for really any time you're on the ice, off the ice, or doing hockey activities. You can record yourself all the different ways I still talk about, and you get some of the same benefits. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see yourself in a team context if you are just by yourself in your backyard shooting pucks, but you can still analyze how you shoot. It's actually a super handy and useful way to do it. I have videos of me trying to analyze my shot and stuff, and it's actually how the pros do it. I mean, the pros are doing it, so obviously it is a good way to check that stuff out, like I say in this episode. So again, just because I'm focusing on recording yourself playing games does not mean that is the only time you should record yourself. Recording yourself and watching playback of, any time you're doing hockey activities can have some benefits. So we're going to start with the positives. Why should you watch yourself on video? There's a lot of good stuff you can get out of it. Number one, you can evaluate your skating, your shooting, your positioning, all that stuff. It's kind of like having a third person out there watching you, but it's you. So even if you look ridiculous and you look like an idiot, it's just you watching yourself. But also too, usually you're your own worst critic on things, which in this case could be a good thing because you will probably pick apart things like your shot and your skating stride and stuff like that more so than somebody else will. You can also take a look at what you didn't see while you were on the ice. Hockey is a fast game. Even at the beer league level, it's fast. But it seems way faster than when you're playing it than when you're watching it. So you can see, did you miss somebody that was open? Did you have time with the puck? Should you have skated it more? Should you have gotten rid of the puck faster? Should you have rimmed it around the boards versus trying to carry it out? All that stuff is you can see yourself now and evaluate with what you were thinking, if what you thought you saw was what was actually there. That's a super useful and handy thing to have there because it can also teach you to kind of where to look. Maybe you're, like me, I usually play defense, take the puck around the back of the net, look up, and generally when I'm playing, I look up and I real quickly take a snapshot of where people are, and I think, okay, I gotta throw a puck out to, say the left wing. And I think that's the only thing that was open. That's the only person that was open. I might go back and watch the video and go, oh, I really could have skated it out more. I could have skated another 10 feet up and maybe had a different play. Or, oh, if I had reversed it back around the other way, I had another play to do it. Or maybe I just completely missed somebody that was wide open. It kind of reinforces the head on a swivel thing that I know a lot of people know. You should always be looking around. You should always be aware of where everybody kind of is. But let's be real. Us beer leaguers, especially lower level people, we're not doing that real well. So it's very helpful for that, to reinforce some of these habits that we probably don't have. It's also a great way to watch your teammates and see the kind of things that they do. see what they're thinking, see what their tendencies are, and kind of get used to that. So you kind of do know what you should look for with the people that you're on the ice with. If somebody tends to always, circle back in the middle before they hit the boards, or vice versa, or just go straight up the boards or something, you can kind of see those tendencies and learn them. And it's easier to do this when you're not playing, just because it's usually a different angle, a little bit better to see, and it's not in the rush and the hurry of the game. So you can stop and rewind stuff and go back and look. But by the same thing, you can look at your opponents and see what their tendencies are. If you're playing in a league and you play the same people, multiple times a year, like I think probably most of us do, you can learn what they do. I mean, maybe they all do this, somebody does the same move over and over again, with the puck, or maybe they always break out the same way or something like that. You notice those things. If you watch one of your games, watch multiple of your games, you'll tend to see these patterns. And once you kind of start seeing these patterns on video, when you go play, hopefully you'll recognize these patterns and figure out a way to stop them, or tell your teammates how to stop them. It's super helpful. This is what pros do. I mean, obviously it does something if this is what the pros do, and they spend a lot of time in video. And honestly, the thing I think we all watch video for is you can get highlights. Watch highlights of yourself, highlights of your team. If you had a great shot, goalie made a great save. If you're like me and you get really excited about having a really good non-icing dump out of the zone, you can watch highlights of all that stuff. And who doesn't like watching highlights of that stuff? Fun. That's probably the biggest reason people go and watch video of themselves, is for the highlights. Why would you not want to watch yourself on video? Probably the biggest thing is you're going to be really, really disappointed when you watch yourself. That's always the biggest shock when I hear about people watching a recorded game for the first time of themselves, is just how slow they look, just how poor their form for everything looks. That is, if you've never watched yourself on video, the first couple times you see it, you're going to be shocked. I know I also score keep games in my league, and so I'm sitting there watching the games, and I always think, wow, it looks so much slower sitting there not playing. And it's people that I play against. I go, wow, they look so slow. And then I think of, well, I just played against them 2 weeks ago, and they were blowing past me. It seemed like they were flying out there. It's that, but tenfold, and with literally everyone when you watch videos of your game, videos of yourself. So just be prepared for it. You're going to be shocked by, how slow you are, how slow everybody is, how bad your shots look, how bad your skating form looks. You're going to be shocked at the stuff that you didn't see when you were out there. You might not have seen somebody, you have the puck and you didn't see somebody wide open, or you didn't see a shot that you should have taken, or you didn't see open space you should have gone to. You didn't see the pass that you should have covered on defense. When you watch video, this stuff is so just in your face. So just be ready for it. I mean, I think it's a good thing for that, but be prepared. If you've never watched video of yourself, just be prepared for that shock. So I do videotape all of the games with my main team, and I've been doing this for years. And I have a lot of takeaways of things that I have found. Hopefully they have made me a somewhat better player. They haven't made me that much better, but it has helped, I think, a little bit. So a couple of things that I have noticed from watching myself. That one of the big things I notice for me is when I kind of watch and see, like if I made a mistake during a game, like a turnover or something like that, and it's not just like a physical limitation, I'll say, versus a mental screw up. Like a physical limitation is something of, I just can't catch somebody because they're too fast. Something like that. Like if it's not something like that and it's, hey, I thought there was a play to be made somewhere and I tried and it didn't work. One of the things I've learned from watching is a lot of times I'm seeing the right plays to make. I'm just way too slow in literally every aspect of the game to make that proper play. So that's an encouraging thing and a discouraging thing for me, but it's something for me to know that, hey, I'm generally seeing the right thing to do, just not generally able to do a lot of it. So that's kind of made me rethink some of the stuff that I see out there on the ice and some of the stuff I try and do that, hey, getting a more realistic expectation of how, quickly I can do something, everything, how quickly I can get a pass off, how quickly I can skate, get to a puck, etc. That's been a big thing for me. Also, no matter what I think, and I know I am terrible at this because I just have terrible skating form because I have never actually learned proper way to skate, and I'm coming from years of roller hockey before playing ice hockey, which is not really the same kind of thing. Is my skating form is awful. I'm very stand-up-ish. I don't bend nearly enough. My knees are not nearly bent enough. And I can tell the games that I'm a lot more conscientious of getting a better bend in my knees and everything, because after those games, man, my knees will be sore and my hips will be sore. But that's what you're supposed to do. That's how, and I'll watch those games back and I'm like, wow, I looked, not good, but significantly better. And I can feel it. So it's a thing that I've tried to make sure that I'm feeling it in games. And I notice if I'm not feeling that, oh, I know how I look. I look awful. I look like I'm just kind of waddling out there almost. Another thing, I don't know how this helps necessarily, but it is something that I've definitely picked up on, is pretty much everyone on my team and most people I play against, I can recognize them by their skating stride or how they hold their sticks, all kinds of stuff like that. I had no idea how distinctive all these things are with people. And that's something that I've definitely picked up on. I think it does help a little bit. If I'm catching somebody out of the corner of my eye, I probably have a better chance of recognizing who it is, which is helpful. But that's a big thing I've noticed with watching all the video I have of games, is you recognize all these little tendencies that people have and little intricacies of, like I said, their skating stride or how they hold their stick or how they shoot. Or one of the big things that I try and focus on is noticing when people are getting ready to shoot, especially for my opponents. So that way, I kind of know if they're going to shoot or not, if they're still planning on carrying the puck or trying to do something with it, or if they're shooting it. That's something I try and focus on, and video has helped that a ton. Another thing that watching video has, I don't know if taught me, but really reinforced it, is the whole concept of the puck has eyes. If you know that concept of, you stand there with the puck on your stick and you're looking at whatever, say you're looking at the net. What you see is not really the same thing as what the puck sitting on your blade sees, especially if you have your puck, the puck and the blade are further away from your body. If you're say you're getting ready for a shot, that looks way different than what you see. And watching on video really, really reinforces that. There's a lot of times, I know for me, when I shoot, I'll see somebody, they're not in front of me, and I think immediately my head goes, take the shot, you're clear, when in fact they're right in front of the puck. So I just wind up hitting them in the shins or whatever. That's a big thing that it really reinforces, for me. And I wouldn't say I've gotten a ton better with it, but it really reinforces it that it's a thing, and it's definitely something to try and learn and get better at, the puck having eyes. Also, it helps me learn what my teammates are doing. At beer league, especially at lower levels, everybody kind of thinks they know what they're doing, that they're doing the right thing. And, what somebody else thinks is doing the right thing versus what I think doing the right thing are generally not the same. they might be close, but they're probably not the same. But when you watch the video of stuff, you do get to see what your teammates have been doing and what they expect. So when they say, "Oh yeah, I came back to get the puck here," and you're thinking, "No, I want you to, I'm expecting you to come back to the face-off dots to get a puck." Let's say, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I came down far enough," and in your head you're like, "No, you didn't come anywhere close." But then you watch a video and go, "Oh, you know what? They came down and they circled through the face-off circle, and I didn't realize they came down that far, because I'm looking for them in one spot and they're not there." So that is a really good thing to actually also learn from watching video. Seeing what your teammates think are the right things to do and trying to put that together with what you think is the right thing to do, so you know what they're going to do. Because guess what? Probably everybody that's playing in beer league, unless you're playing at a very high level, you're not doing the right thing anyways. Almost nobody's doing the right thing. You all think you're doing the right thing, but it's not. And if you at least know, not necessarily what the right thing is, but what other people are going to do, it's probably as good as you're going to get versus, having a coach come out there and instruct everybody how to properly break out a puck and set up a, proper offense and where everybody's supposed to be on defense and, doing all that stuff and reiterating it and doing it, over and over and over again. Short of doing that, watching video of games is a good way to learn kind of what people do. So it helps. All right. So if I've convinced you that watching yourself play, well, shocking you with how bad you're going to look can actually be helpful, how do you go about doing it? Well, there's probably three main ways that I know of to do it. One, probably the easiest way to do it is if you have someone that comes to games, have them record you. They can do it with their phone, or they can be like one of those iPad parents that stands there recording on an iPad or tablet or whatever, or a camera. They can just record whatever. You see it a lot of kids' games. You'll see parents with like tablets, especially it seems like tablets on tripods set up and just kind of recording everything. And, you can either pan it back and forth, or they can follow you, or just record when you're on the ice, record the whole game, whatever. That's, I think, the easiest way to do it, and have that recording. The probably next easiest thing as far as what you have to do is something like Live Barn. If you don't know Live Barn, and there are other Live Barn alternatives at other rinks, Live Barn is just the one that's used around me, and I know is I think the largest kind of one that's used at multiple rinks in US and Canada. And what they have is they have a camera system set up at the rink, and you subscribe, do like a monthly or yearly subscription, and you can either live stream games, which is nice if you can't make your games, you want to see what's going on. You can either live stream games, or you can go back and watch the games. They've record the games. So you can either, watch old games. You can also do clips depending on your subscription level. You can do just short, like 30-second clips, or full games and record them and whatnot. But it doesn't require you to do anything except pay for that subscription, as long as your rink has it. Also, if you are going to do Live Barn, and make sure your rinks have it. Most rinks have signage up somewhere that they have Live Barn. They're advertising it because they want people to pay for it. And usually most rinks have some kind of a discount code for signing up. So if you're going to find one of those discount codes to sign up for it. But that's a super easy way. It requires nothing else besides paying that subscription, and then you can go watch your games, and then you can make clips and stuff, or just sit and watch them, on your computer, watch it on your phone, whatever. Really easy way to do it. The third way to do it is have a camera that you yourself use. So kind of the two main ways I see this is, getting yourself an action camera. So I'm going to say GoPro because that's what I have, and they're like the big name in action cameras, but it by no means are GoPros the only action cameras out there you can use. There are now a number of other GoPro clones basically out there that all have their different, positive and negatives for each one of them. So do your own research on what works best for you. But I'm just gonna say GoPros because it's like the generic term for it for action cameras. So you can take those and you can be the guy that puts it on your helmet during a game and record what's going on. It's handy because you get, a nice recording if you angle it right to, exactly what you see for a nice first person perspective of stuff. Plus you can hear everything you hear. So it really is like you being on the ice and kind of seeing everything. But the downside to doing that on your helmet is, one, you have GoPro on your helmet, which basically is just a giant target for everybody to try and hit, I think. That's number one. So that's not great. Also, it's on your helmet. It's going to weigh something. They're all these cameras are pretty light, but it's on your helmet. But also it only gives your point of view. So you're going to lose out on some of the benefits that you get from watching recorded games. So you're not going to be able to see the stuff that you didn't see because it's just what's in front of you. You're not going to see what's necessarily off to the sides, or especially not what's behind you. And depending on how you angle the camera, you literally might just see the ice in front of you and not down the ice. That can be tricky to kind of get that right. So I do not recommend putting the GoPro on your helmet like that. I don't recommend that for stuff. I think for goalies, maybe, definitely not during a game for goalies. Maybe if you're going to like a stick and puck or shoot around or something like that with goalies, it might be good. But yeah, I don't like the camera on the helmet setup really at all, except for like a fun, neat shot, not for any kind of trying to evaluate anything that's going on. Other option is put the camera on the board somewhere. You can either put on the side of the glass and point it at one end of the ice, or if you try and get it as wide as you can to get as much ice as possible. Or if you have like a 360 camera, something like that, and that'll catch everything, or if you have a 360 camera, they can set to 180 degrees. So it catches just one end of the rink to the other. Well, that would work as well. And you can just put that on the side of the rink. You can also put the camera on one of the end boards. That's something that I used to do, is put it like behind a goalie, kind of as far up as I could reach, and point it down. And that's actually a really great angle to see what's going on in the end of the rinks. I think that's one of the better angles that you can get with like a GoPro kind of camera to see what's going on. But the downside of that is it really only works for one end of the rink. It does really good from kind of the blue line in usually, about that, but definitely not for the other side of the rink. So unless you're going to move the camera between periods, which means, having to go outside the rink, don't put your cameras inside the rink. Don't be those people. You're just asking, again, for people to hit them, or if something happened, don't do that. Also, don't put your cameras in the back of the nets. I've seen people put cameras like behind the goalie. Again, cool, like single shot thing if you want to do that in warm-ups or something like that, or if you're at a stick and puck and you want to get some neat shots, but not during a game. Don't do that during a game. Also, during a game, your goalie's going to block it most of the time. So you're just going to, if you do it during a game, you're going to have a great hour-long video of your goalie's ass, mostly. That's what you're going for, great, but not going to be able to tell anything that's going on with most of the game. So what I used to do is I started with one camera headed on the end, and I would do it on the side that my team was playing offense on twice. And, so I'd get 2 periods of good kind of offense lookout, 1 period of defense. Eventually, I switched to 2 cameras, 1 on each end. It was really good. Really liked that setup. But that was a lot of, getting the cameras going and having to go, put them on the glass, start them up. And, I wasn't going to leave them out there. Like when I got, I wasn't going to be like, hey, get to the rink. Let me go put the cameras up, go change, come back out and turn them on. I wasn't about to do that. So it'd be, right before the game, but, try and get out there early before warm-ups and get the cameras on there and turned on. But then after the game, you got to go pick them up. And some of the rinks, you can't get out both ends, or they don't have skate safe surfaces to get to. So not every rink could you do that to. So that's stuff to think about with that. That's, and that also requires 2 cameras, finally, I mentioned this in one of the shorts episodes, was something called the U-Hawk, UHWK. That was a really cool helmet camera that, unlike like the GoPros and the other action cameras, it was made to be mounted to the front of a helmet. So it was small and compact and kind of looked built in. And honestly, a lot of people didn't know I had one of them, and a lot of people didn't know that I had it on my helmet until I pointed it out. You wouldn't really notice it. It was a black that kind of matched the black helmets. And once somebody noticed it, oh yeah, you could see it. But people generally didn't notice it was there, which was nice. And that gave kind of that POV shot for games. And I actually would use that in combination with the GoPros on either end of the ice. And it gave a cool thing. It was a cool, different perspective of stuff. But again, not always the most useful perspective for things because it's only your point of view. So it was great to show like what you were doing or what you saw, but not the stuff you missed or what anybody else was really doing. And on a side note to that, there is a new U-Hawk supposedly coming out, hopefully sometime soon. And that would be great because there were some downsides with the U-Hawk. But yeah, like I said, I mentioned a little bit more in one of the shorts videos where I go a little bit more in depth on that. But I'll put a link for that video and for the U-Hawk and stuff like that in the show notes. So check that out. So how do I record games? So my current setup has evolved. Like I said, I started with a single GoPro on one end of the rink. Eventually got a second GoPro that I put one on each side behind the goalies. And what I would do with that, with having 2 feeds then, is I would take that home. I would go into my video editing software and I would actually manually edit every game to switch back and forth between the 2 cameras. And it took forever. It was a giant pain in the butt. So I had figured out there had to be a better way to do that. Because I was just manually switching for, which camera was kind of the better one. Because when you were like center ice area, neither camera really picked it up good. So it's kind of like when, somewhere in there, switch it. But then if there's a turnover there, you got to switch it back. And it took forever. I was generally spending for our games are 3 15-minute periods. They usually take a little over an hour. So say for around an hour of footage that I was I was probably spending 4 or 5 hours editing a single game. I didn't really think that was worth it. So I switched to the setup that I have now. It's a 3-camera setup, but it's all in kind of one form factor. I do have another YouTube video that I kind of go over this whole setup, so you can get a visual of it. Again, I'll link that in show notes if you want to see. But what it is, I have a suction cup mount for GoPros, then a little bar that sits on top of it, that there's 2 cameras on top, one on the bottom. The bottom camera just films center ice. These are all also older GoPros, because I don't need all the fancy new stuff the GoPros do. These are 4 versions behind. They're GoPro 8s. I think they're up to 12 now. So you don't need to get the new cameras for doing this kind of stuff. That's a nice way to save some money too, is, go find older action cameras. I don't need all the image stabilization and low lighting stuff and things like that. I don't need that. I mean, the cameras don't really move a whole lot unless, the boards get shook really bad. And even then doesn't really do much to them. And, lighting is the lighting at the rinks. I'm not doing anything outside at night with them. So that is another good way to save money. And the camera that I have pointed at center ice, it just sits there and it kind of does the center ice area. That's an even older one. I think it's a GoPro 5. It works great. Gets a great job of that. And then the other 2 are just like on top of this little bar mounted, and they point to either end of the ice. Because it is mounted on like the side, I usually mount it between the benches, like where the scorekeepers are or something like that. It doesn't do a great job of getting, the very corners of both ends. It kind of misses the one corner on each side a little bit. But hey, it gets mostly everything. And all I do is I take all 3 feeds in my editing software and I just put them all up at once. I just the videos for my team just show all 3 feeds all the time. I don't switch back and forth. It makes it really easy to put the editing together and to get those done. It doesn't look as slick as what it kind of used to, but it makes it go a lot quicker. And it lets you still see pretty much everything that's going on. It gets you, all the stuff I said. You can watch yourself skating really well, watch yourself shooting, watch teammates shooting and skating, kind of see where people are setting up, where they're going, see what your opponents are doing, watch goalies, see what they do, see what they don't do. It lets you see all that stuff still really well. It's far from perfect. A nicer thing would be having something up higher in the air, to get a better perspective of stuff, because that's what they do, for TV broadcasts and stuff. But this is something that I can just have in my bag, take out on the ice with me, after, when warm-ups are going on, I go just suction cup this thing onto the glass, turn on all the cameras, do a quick check, make sure they're recording and they're getting generally a pretty good image, and that's it. And then when I'm done, I just go, make sure I take it down. That's, to me, any things for a setup like that not working great at showing everything and not being perfect for getting every inch of ice, it more than makes up for it with the ease of use and setup. So that's what I do. I would recommend, if you have any interest in, watching yourself play, watching any of this stuff, you could try out LiveBarn. Like I said, they have yearly and monthly subscriptions. Get a month to it. See what you think, see if you do like watching yourself, see if you pick up anything right away, see if it's useful for you. I think that's, kind of probably the lowest barrier to entry, unless you can have somebody come to your games and record things. That's a really easy thing to do. If you already have, some kind of action camera set up or something, take it out, put it up, mount it up somewhere. You can, if you don't have, like I said, I use a suction cup mount, something like that. You have a little tripod, put it with the scorekeeper. Why not? I'm sure they're not going to care. Have it set up right there. Have it kind of angled one way or the other. I mean, hey, if you know the scorekeeper, maybe they can even move it a little bit for you during the game. Just something like that. Give it a try. I can't stress enough how useful I think watching yourself is on video. Also, I can't stress enough about how kind of shocking it is to watch yourself because you don't look nearly as good as you think you do. But maybe you don't look nearly as bad as you think you might. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. You don't have to spend a bunch of money for it. I mean, you can also just take your phone, set it to record video. Like I said, even if you don't have a little tripod, just take your phone out, and if you don't want to record from the bench, put it behind, like I said, where the scorekeepers are, or in the penalty box or something like that, and just have it leaning up there and record your game. That's a really easy thing to do. That's a super easy way to do it, just to get some kind of documentation of what you're doing and watching yourself. I think it's totally worth it. It's not hard to do. You don't have to, go buy the brand new GoPros and go get expensive editing software and do all kinds of, great like color correction on the video so everything looks exactly right. And you don't have to do any of that. A quick little video on your phone, that's a great place to start. It's better than nothing. So yeah, I would say do that. Start with something, give it a try. If you don't have somebody coming out to your games and you just want to do it yourself, that is probably the lowest barrier of entry way you can do it. Use your phone, set it up somewhere, and hit record on it. That's it. Just make sure your phone's charged up. so you actually get a decent amount of recording on it. But that's it. Not too hard to do. Totally worth it. See how much you like it. See how much it helps. If you keep doing it, maybe that's the time to invest in something. Hey, maybe your teammates love the idea and they want to see more of the videos, and you guys can get together and buy some sort of a camera to set up, for games. Buy one of those, like I said, like 360 cams, because those will get everything. And it's one camera. Buy something like that and set it up before the game, and then you're done. That's it. Pretty easy to do. So there you go. Let me know. Do you watch yourself on video? Have you seen yourself on video before? If you have, what have you seen, good and bad, out there from watching yourself? If you haven't, why not? I just told you a bunch of easy ways to go do it. So get out, do it, and let me know how it turns out. All right, everybody, as always, I appreciate any kind of likes, subscribes, or reviews of the podcast. Those are what help it get out to people so more people can hear this fun stuff. And as always, catch you in the next one.